Welcome to StarWatch Now, your front row seat to all the hottest gossip, drama, and breaking news from the world of entertainment. If it's trending, shocking, or star-studded, we're covering it. Stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next.
Have you ever encountered a public figure who seems impossible to define with a single description? Someone who appears calm yet intense, distant yet strangely warm, simple yet deeply layered the more you observe them. In the ever-evolving landscape of the Chinese entertainment industry, where image and perception often shift faster than truth itself, Wang Yibo continues to stand out as a figure who resists any form of easy categorization. Female director Liu Ziwei once described his temperament as something truly astonishing, built on contradictions that do not clash but instead coexist in perfect balance. According to her observation, he carries both youthful innocence and mature composure at the same time, creating a presence that feels both familiar and elusive. At first glance, this sounds almost impossible, yet the longer people follow his journey, the more this contradiction begins to make sense. Because Wang Yibo is not simply a collection of traits, he is a living intersection of experiences, disciplines, and quiet transformations that have shaped him over time. And perhaps that is why audiences remain so drawn to him, not because he fits an ideal image, but because he reflects something far more human than perfection ever could. The entertainment industry is filled with talented performers and striking personalities. Every generation produces new names, new faces, and new stories that briefly capture attention before fading into the background of constant media cycles. Yet only a few individuals manage to maintain relevance, not through reinvention, but through consistency of presence. Wang Yibo is often discussed in this rare category, not because he tries to stand out, but because he naturally embodies a balance that feels unusually complete. On one side, there is his youthfulness, a softness that appears when he smiles, the subtle expression in his eyes, and the effortless way he shifts from seriousness to lightness in a single moment. On the other side, there is a composed stillness that seems to come from experience rather than performance. He does not rush into expression or exaggerate emotion. Instead, he observes, listens, and responds with clarity that feels measured and intentional. Liu Ziwei highlighted that this maturity should not be misunderstood as emotional distance or calculated behavior. Instead, it reflects a kind of mental clarity, a grounded awareness of self that is rare in an environment where external expectations constantly shift. Wang Yibo has faced the weight of public attention from a very young age, navigating periods of intense visibility, scrutiny, and rapid change. Yet, rather than being reshaped by external noise, he appears to have developed a quieter internal structure, one that prioritizes direction over reaction. This is where the contradiction becomes meaningful. His youthful side does not disappear with maturity. Instead, it coexists with it, creating a layered personality that feels both approachable and distant at the same time. There is a reason why small details about him often resonate more strongly than major headlines. In moments where cameras are not the focus, subtle behaviors begin to define perception more than any official narrative. Whether it is his calm interaction with staff behind the scenes, his attentive way of listening during conversations, or the simple act of acknowledging messages from supporters, these fragments collectively shape an image that feels unconstructed. Even in highly structured environments, such as film sets or racing circuits, where discipline and pressure are constant, he is often described as maintaining a quiet focus rather than a performative presence. In the atmosphere of a garage filled with mechanical sounds, equipment, and preparation routines, he is seen not as a distant celebrity, but as someone fully engaged in the process, paying attention to details that matter in the moment rather than the attention surrounding it. What makes these observations significant is not their scale, but their consistency. They suggest a pattern rather than an isolated impression. A personality that does not fluctuate depending on context, but instead adapts while maintaining its core. This is where Liu Ziwei's analysis becomes particularly relevant. She suggests that Wang Yibo's charm is not built on a single identity, but on the coexistence of multiple dimensions that do not cancel each other out. His identity as a performer, his discipline as a dancer, his emotional restraint as an actor, and his focus in high-pressure environments such as motorsport all contribute to a broader sense of stability. Each role does not replace the other. Instead, they reinforce different aspects of the same individual. One of the most frequently referenced parts of his career remains his portrayal of Lan Wangji in The Untamed. The character became widely associated with stillness, restraint, and quiet emotional depth. Over time, audiences began to associate this fictional role with aspects of Wang Yibo himself, whether accurately or not. The calm expression, the controlled presence, and the subtle emotional communication all contributed to a perception that blurred the line between character and performer. However, what makes his real-life persona more intriguing is not how closely it aligns with a role, but how it extends beyond any single interpretation. Lan Wangji may remain a cultural reference point, but Wang Yibo's real identity continues to evolve outside of that frame. The idea of contradiction plays a central role in understanding why he continues to attract attention in a highly saturated industry. Modern audiences are increasingly drawn to authenticity rather than perfection, to complexity rather than simplicity. A personality that is entirely predictable often fades into familiarity, while a personality that contains contrast tends to remain memorable. In Wang Yibo's case, the contrast is not conflictual. It is harmonious. Youth and maturity do not compete. Distance and warmth do not cancel each other. Instead, they create a rhythm that feels natural, as if each side only exists because the other is present. This balance also reflects a broader shift in how public figures are perceived today. The expectation of a single fixed persona is gradually being replaced by an understanding that individuals are inherently multi-layered. People are not defined by one trait, one role, or one moment. They evolve through experience, and that evolution often produces contradictions that are not flaws, but evidence of growth. Wang Yibo's public image unintentionally reflects this reality. He is neither fully distant nor fully open, neither entirely reserved nor overly expressive. Instead, he exists within the space between definitions, where interpretation becomes part of the experience of watching him. Liu Ziwei's perspective ultimately frames him not as an exception, but as an example of a broader truth about modern artistry. Longevity in the entertainment industry is rarely achieved through uniform identity. It is sustained through adaptability, consistency, and the ability to remain authentic while evolving. In that sense, Wang Yibo represents a model that does not rely on perfection, but on balance. A balance between discipline and spontaneity, between control and ease, between visibility and privacy. As audiences continue to follow his journey across film, performance, fashion, and motorsport, what remains most striking is not any single achievement, but the continuity of character behind them. There is a sense that regardless of context, something essential remains unchanged. Not rigid, but stable. Not constructed, but refined through time. And perhaps that is why discussions around him persist. Because in a world where identities are often simplified for convenience, he represents something more complex, more human, and ultimately more enduring. A reminder that contradiction does not weaken character. It can, in fact, define its depth. If this perspective made you see Wang Yibo in a new light, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. Do you believe that true charisma comes from clarity or from contradiction? And what kind of qualities do you think make an artist truly unforgettable in today's entertainment world? Your views help continue this conversation. Thank you for watching StarWatch Now. If you enjoy deep dives into the hidden layers of today's most talked about stars, consider subscribing and staying with us for more stories that go beyond the surface. Until next time, stay curious, stay thoughtful, and we will see you in the next one.